Okay guys, so this is take two of the video that I was trying to do. I guess it was sideways when I was trying to do it. So anyway, my name is Heather Franklin and I attend Utah Valley University. I'm currently the club president for a club that focuses on former foster youth who are currently studying at the university. And I've done a couple of public speaking events. I've spoken at the National Resilience in Education Summit Conference that was held at Utah Valley. I was a guest speaker. I was asked to speak, and Christian Moore was there. He spoke. Cal Reyes from Utah Valley, he was able to speak. And Y-Tri was there, and they addressed educators from across the nation on how to work with at-risk youth. And the Hope Squad, there was a little class, a breakout session. One of the classes talked about Hope Squad, which fights against suicide. So they focus on suicide prevention, and Hope for Utah is kind of, I believe, kind of like a shoot off from the Hope Squad. And so anyway, so I spoke there because I'm a former foster youth, and I've been able to graduate from high school, and I was valedictorian of my high school and actually get into college. But as I was going through this process of transitioning into adulthood, and I realized that, all of the challenges that somebody that has been through the system like me faces that maybe somebody that hasn't been through the system doesn't face. And so I started doing research, and I found out that less than 4% of those that age out of the foster care system graduate with a 4-year degree. On top of that, about 20,000, 21,000 kids age out every year, and half of them are at risk for homelessness. Like, they end up homeless within the first 18 months of emancipation or their 18th birthday. So that's like 10,000, 10,500 within that range, kids every single year. And then another statistic, very similar, just talked about how, any homeless person that you walk up to on the street, they have like a 50% chance of having had time spent in foster care. And so I started thinking, and as I've been working with the Ogden School District, I spoke for them at one of their in-session trainings, focusing on specifically this issue with working with kids in care. And, I was approached by a teacher who said, what if, your program, like the club at Utah Valley University, were to grow, were to expand across Utah? And then he said, what if you did a YouTube channel? What if you had several videos talking about this issue? And this is my first video, so I apologize for my shakiness and, bad lighting or whatever. But I began thinking, what if we started having those discussions? What if, the statistic of only 50% of, foster youth ever graduate from high school, what if that were to change? What if those statistics were raised? But more so, besides numbers, what if former foster youth who are now adults started supporting one another? And, I thought about just all of the problems with the lack of a transition program, and it's very obvious with, the research I've done as far as numbers go. And it's interesting because, the topics around foster care kind of remind us of the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. But it seems like, after 18, with, in reference to foster care, the village kind of just forgets about the child. But that's funny because, any concerned mother, any concerned parent, as soon as their kid turns 18, they don't forget about them. They never stop becoming mothers. And so there's, this idea that the village is essentially forgetting, these children. They're, now adult children, but they're society's forgotten adult children. And it is very obvious that this population is struggling. And I don't know. I think it's probably because I've had, you know, some extended family, my siblings, and, you know, other people, supportive people in my life, that I've been able to rely upon, and, you know, just certain gifts that I have. But, you know, and we can get into things like white privilege and, you know, things like that. And I'm not gonna, you know, say that I don't have privileges. I think that, you know, if you think about it, everybody, regardless of gender, you know, sexual orientation, race, whatever, there's some sort of privilege. But you think about that, and you think about, you know, who exactly out of the former foster youth population is actually succeeding. And I wonder, you know, I wonder if it's more females because they're expected to do better in school. I wonder if it's more white kids because, you know, whatever, with things like white privilege. And so I start wondering about, you know, men. And it's obvious, I mean, like, based off of the research I've been doing, that, you know, I found things like, you know, teenage boys are less likely to receive Christmas presents in foster care than, you know, girls. And I know that a present doesn't seem like a lot, but, you know, it's important. And I think that, you know, when we start having these conversations, a lot of, you know, just, I think that as soon as we start having these conversations, we will find out from each other, you know, our needs and what our successes are, and what are certain resources that maybe some people have been able to access and others haven't. But it is very clear that it seems like we need to have a discussion as former foster youth, you know, as society's adult children, basically, and rally around each other and encourage each other, because I really do believe that cycles exist within families. And when you have people who have been exposed to various different things, drug abuse, you know, child abuse, domestic violence, mental illness, other substance abuse, and, you know, lack of boundaries, poor relationship skills, all this stuff that just seems heavy. When you have a kid going through that, and then essentially, like, the kid is being set up for failure because there is no, you know, transition program, or there aren't enough transition programs, because I know that there are some transition programs, but it's clear that there aren't enough. So it's interesting because, you know, you have these people going out and ending up homeless and not succeeding, you know, and not, you know, just kind of continuing the cycle of just difficult life experiences. You wonder why cycles repeat themselves. And then you start wondering, I wonder, you know, if we could help each other to succeed, how many less children will have to be, you know, will have to enter the foster care system, because I do believe that the cycles exist within families. And I do believe that if you know better, you do better. You know, the Maya Angelou, you know, quote that Oprah's kind of, you know, turned into, you know, that short, simple phrase, like, you know better, you do better. And I do believe that that can happen for us, and that we that have gone through the system, that have, you know, had better experiences after the system, you know, have an obligation to support those that have not been as lucky to receive as many resources, or have been able to bounce back. And, you know, you talk about resilience, but I think that we have an obligation to start this conversation. And, you know, I hope that this is the first of many videos, and I'll try to keep them updated every week. And, yeah, so go ahead and comment in the comments below, and tell me what you think and what some of the issues are. You know, share your experience, share your successes, and how we can do better, and what you think, or share what's helped you even. But yeah, so here we go, I guess, in this adventure.